a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching Sunny on Apple TV+, Sausage Party Foodtopia on Prime Video, Receiver on Netflix, and Down in the Valley on Starz.
So stay tuned to the end to know which part of the South BJ would invite a docu-crew to record.
Okay, I will keep thinking about that. In the meantime, can you tell us what's happening in Kyoto?
You're talking about Sunny on Apple TV+. Susie, played by Rashida Jones, lives in Kyoto, Japan, and is dealing with the loss of her husband and son, who disappeared in a mysterious plane crash. As consolation, she receives Sunny, voiced by Joanna Sotomura, a domestic robot made by her husband's electronics company.
Okay, me too. Here is a leading question.
Okay.
Do you think Rashida Jones is a good fit for a dark comedy?
I do. I think Rashida Jones was a really fantastic person to put in this role because she's a great actor. I believe and feel the grief that she is experiencing and the confusion because there is this open-ended question of, did these people die in this plane crash? Are they missing? Is there possibility of recovering people? There's this exercise that she goes through where other people who have lost family members in this crash call the phone numbers of the family members, and everyone's phone goes to voicemail, but hers, when she calls her husband, it rings. So is there hope? Is it safe to have hope? Just a lot of open-ended questions here, and I think Rashida plays that beautifully, but then also she's so funny that towing that line, finding that humor in that grief, finding the humor in this show, she's doing that really well too.
100% agree. I think the emotions in this show are very genuine. We see a lot of her flashbacks or memories of her husband and son, and you can feel the sadness she's experiencing as little things in the world remind her of the family that she's lost. And as you mentioned, it's unclear if they died or if they survived this plane crash. And so she is trying to move forward, but also living in the home that she had with her family, leaving her son's toys out on the floor because she doesn't want to disturb anything yet. And mixed in with all of that are some really funny moments, from interactions at a holiday party, interactions with the robot Sunny, voiced by Joanna Sotomura, and interactions with her mother-in-law, Noriko, played by Judy Ong, who doesn't seem to see the world the same as Susie.
Noriko is holding on to decorum. She's trying to follow the systems. She's even holding out some hope about what could have happened with Masa and Susie's son. And also, Susie's pissed. And so that anger mixed with this person trying to hold it together is very funny. And then also classic sitcom behavior of the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law dynamic.
I'm on Noriko's side. Have some strength. Hold back in public settings. Have some decorum. Try and fit into the system. Avoid the Yakuza. Come on now.
Avoid the Yakuza is exactly it. Like, sure, be mindful of why you were invited to the section, maybe. But the Yakuza of it all, avoid it. Great advice.
Pro tip.
Pro tip. Do not get involved in an international gang while grieving family loss. Or just ever. Like, whether family disappears or not. Just don't. Solid all-around advice.
How do you feel about living with a robot that won't stay turned off?
I love the mystery of Sunny because we think, is Sunny a helper? They make a point to say that Sunny was programmed for Susie, but is there a situation where maybe Masa hid some code in there for Susie? Is there a message from him? Because we learn there is more to Masa than Susie knows. She learns as a light spoiler that he worked on these robots and not in a department that she thought he did, which was refrigerators. She learned at the holiday party from a very unfortunately drunk associate that he was a very difficult boss and clearly a result of some kind of high-pressure work environment. So now not only is she navigating what happened to my husband and son, but also who was my husband? What was he getting into? And what are these robots capable of? Because she stumbles across some scary stuff.
Yes, Sunny the robot is very creepy despite presenting itself as comforting and supportive and well-behaved. And we also learn from Mixie, played by Annie the Clumsy, this aspiring mixologist who tries to be supportive to Susie, but she was not in the headspace for it. We learn that people hack these robots and that they can do things that they weren't originally programmed to do.
Some really weird things. Some violent things and some weird things.
This is going to be a weird podcast due to some of the shows we'll be discussing.
That's true. It's only going to get weirder from here. But it is intriguing because, you know, there's this gang element for some reason. There's this mystery element around the robots. There's the mystery of the disappearance. And potentially related to the gang or the robots or not, there appears to be a man just tracking Susie's movements.
Yeah, she is being followed/stalked. Is that related to the robot? Is the robot a secret? There's questions about who delivered the robot. Are we going to see more of Noriko? Does she know about the robots? Does she know about her son's job? I don't know.
But to get into ratings for Sunny on Apple TV Plus, I want to know what happens. So I would watch this one again casually. Ooh, actually, the length of this first episode was a little over 30 minutes. So this might be a would watch with lunch for me where I have a little break in the day, I have my meal, and I take in this show and I uncover the mystery. If you are also a dark comedy mystery person, I think you'll like this one.
I agree. I would rate this would watch again casually. I really like the mystery, and I think this will be a fun show to watch week to week as we learn more about the world.
True. Not all the episodes are out.
Nope, can't marathon this series. Yet.
All right. So why don't you take us from weird to weirder?
Yeah, you're talking about Sausage Party Foodtopia on Prime Video. Well, after standing up to the human race following the events of the 2016 film Sausage Party, Frank, voiced by Seth Rogen, establishes a safe haven dubbed Foodtopia, along with his food friends. However, following a massive incident that destroys part of their promised land, these food creatures have to figure out what's life like without the human race.
So did you watch the movie?
I have seen Sausage Party.
Okay. I had not. And so I came into this one pretty ignorant to what was coming. And when there was a food orgy of these cartoon food characters after a rousing speech by Frank, I guess literally rousing, I thought, uh-oh, what's going on? And I had to genuinely ask my partner. I was like, are you familiar with the events of this film? Are these foodstuffs having sex with each other? And they were.
That's the part that got you asking questions, not these food, what do we call them? Food beings murdering humans?
I was confused from minute one, which I know is not an uncommon thing for our very patient listeners to hear from me, because I was curious, how is food produced? Is it produced from this mating, or is it produced by people who make it to eat it? Does food expire? Because if this bread has been out for this long, how much longer do we have before the mold appears?
Right.
Are they going to be able to make more food, or are they comfortable with maybe being the last foodstuffs?
These are great questions. I don't know the answer to any of them.
So I was confused from minute one, but definitely the orgy kind of set it over the top where I was like, oh, is that what's happening right now after the revolution of deciding to not be eaten by humans for consumption again?
Yes, listeners, this is an R-rated adult comedy. I don't know if it's actually R-rated, but the movie was, and this is the same level of raunchy humor and violence in terms of the humans, at least. And a positive is they really explore a lot of different kinks. It's a sex-positive series.
That's true.
And high stakes. Their
That's
survival
true.
is on the line. As you mentioned, will they expire?
And I liked the question of, was this revolution worth it? Because at least when the Humies were around, there weren't these other elements that were a risk to them. Now they're encountering things like weather, which they had never experienced, I guess, living inside of the supermarket. So was the revolution worth it? Was leaving the grocery store worth it? And now that you have, how do you build this new society? I love shows about, okay, this big thing has happened, and now what is our reaction? Do we go super strict with intense rules and hierarchies of people and roles, or do we go full anarchy, hedonistic society? And now they're realizing maybe the hedonism is not so sustainable for a long-term survival for them. And then there's this mystery of there might still be humans or some other risks out there in the ether. So the stakes are interesting. And I like that it was punny.
Lots of puns all around with all the characters, all the food items, all the sex. Are there animals in this world?
I'm not sure. Good question. Truly don't know.
I feel like raccoons would be a big threat to this society.
Oh, that's true. Wow. Didn't even think about that. They'd need to do another Operation Desert Storm.
Oh, no. Well, me too. Are you going to watch more episodes of Sausage Party Foodtopia on Prime Video?
With love to the Sausage Party hive, to your community. You know, I come to you with respect. I know that this has its audience. BJ told me right before we started recording that we believe it's locked in for a season 2. So obviously it has its people. And Sausage Party, I'm sure, was a successful film.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you are Sausage Party Hive, I think you'll enjoy this. I am not Sausage Party Hive. I think I missed the boat not having watched the film. And so I'm bowing out of this one. I don't think this is my kind of humor.
Oh, yeah, you are a comedy lover. This is a comedy.
Sure. Yes, it is.
It's animated.
I know this is really funny for people, but it is not funny for me. I thought the puns were funny, but I just think overall this is not for me. It's almost like South Park, where I recognize people love South Park. It's just not for me.
And that's okay. We still love you.
Thank you.
I also would rate this one not watch again. I did see the movie, and it was not my cup of tea. Similar to you, if you enjoyed the movie, you will enjoy this show. It literally picks up from the end of that. It's the same type of humor, same characters. They brought back a lot of the same voice cast. So it's really a love letter to the fans of the film.
All right, so why don't we take things from fights in the supermarket parking lot to fights on the football field?
You're talking about Receiver on Netflix. This riveting sports series follows the 2023 season of NFL Receivers. In this pilot episode, we're introduced to 49ers George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, and Lions Amon-Ra St. Brown. And we also know that later in the season, we'll meet Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson. So, Mitu, you know more about football than me, so what did you think of this show focused on receivers?
I thought it was really good. I used to love watching football. I stopped because I started feeling really bad about understanding some of the ramifications of how much they get hurt in the game. We even see that a little bit in the show, which we can get into. But I really respect the sport. These people are top tier athletes. And to the point of the narration at the top of the episode, people don't talk enough about how receivers have to be very flexible in their role on the field. We learn through these first three people who are highlighted that you have to be able to catch the ball. You have to be able to run really fast. You also have to be able to take a hit. Sometimes you have to be able to give a hit. Sometimes you have to be able to hold off somebody while running, while trying to catch the ball. There's a lot happening at once, and they show it very well. And I like that this show is showing winners. There is something really lovely about an underdog story, and there's also something great about watching three people who are at the top of their craft being really good at that thing. And that's what we got to see here.
I agree. I think they chose a really good cast to start off this season. Not only are they excellent athletes, they're not the underdogs. We actually can see success in the making. But I also appreciated that they highlighted the difficulty and importance of the receiver position. Everyone always thinks of quarterbacks when they think of football, but there are so many other people on the team. And receivers really do have a difficult job because they can be good at catching a ball, but there's so many other factors at play just to get the ball to them that they have no control over, yet they might get the blame for not catching it.
Yes. There are so many elements that go into whether that ball successfully makes it to you for you to even attempt to catch. And they capture that really well in this show. And they also have some really funny characters. George is
fun.
Fascinating. He raps. He speaks things into existence. We see him comfortably take a fine to wear
$15,000 fine.
$15,000 to wear a shirt making fun of the other team with some crass language and a historical reference. And I liked his dynamic with his wife. She seems so supportive of him. And then when we also meet Debo's wife, it made me just kind of want a wives show, but like an honest one. And I don't think we'd ever get that, unfortunately. One where it's like, how hard is it actually to be truly, they describe them as their backbones. George and Debo are very clear in saying that their families are what propel them forward. And I would love to know what that level of effort looks like for Claire and Mahogany. And also, I don't think we'll get to ever have like a really honest telling of that. Because obviously these have to be very glossy and they are ultimately like very good press for these people. But all that said, I loved that look into their personal lives. And then moving over to Debo, speaking of his family, I loved seeing him with his son and how he said dad mode was activated, like he had dad strength, where he noticed a literal improvement in his play because of the higher stakes for him.
Yes, the personal lives made this show really enjoyable, even if you're not much of a football fan. I definitely see how you would want this to be more of a honest documentary, like another show that we're going to review after this. But I do appreciate this curated look into their lives. George definitely seems like a fun guy who recognizes how stressful his job is and tries to make the most of every moment. And Debo and his son and his wife, his whole family, those were some really cute and beautiful scenes. And it's one of the good examples of how, you know, when you go to a new stage in life, it can really change your priorities for the better. And it seems like becoming a father and starting a family really helped Debo kind of align things in a way that's working better for everyone in his life.
It blew my mind as well, watching Debo run through like 5 people. There was one play that they showed where all of these people try to tackle him, and he genuinely, it feels like he ran through them. through brick walls.
That's what you got
to
do.
Get 42 yards or something.
Life is a wide receiver. You just got to make the play.
But he's unique in that they talk about this a lot, and his quarterback talked about it, where his lower body is so solid. Like, apparently he just has like very thick legs, like a very built lower body, that he just is more powerful than your usual receiver. So he's truly running through people. He's very dense is what they said, which is just fascinating. A fascinating way to describe a human person's body.
Your legs are so dense.
It's true. Masculinity is so funny too, because imagine if his quarterback was like, boy, you thick, because that's really what he wanted to say. Like,
that's what he was saying, just finding every other way to say that.
Dense, strong, whatever, thick. But then on the other side of things with family, it was hard, if I'm being honest, to see Amon-Ra with his family.
Mm-hmm.
His father was a bodybuilder competing in Mr. World, Mr. Universe. Very clearly someone who still feels strongly about strength training and training his children closely. I think they said in the documentary that maybe when Amon-Ra was like a child, maybe 10, 11 years old, his dad was like, I'm going to make you into an NFL player.
Super Bowl winner.
Into a Super Bowl winner, excuse me. Let me be clear about the goals. And so they have these videos of him as a child and the training that he did with his father. It just blew my mind to watch that, where I guess Amon-Ra's steps were kind of ordered for him. Like, he just was meant to be this record-breaking Detroit Lion, one of the best receivers in the league. He clearly has taken the torch from his father and is great at putting intense pressure on himself too, because he was able to recite all 16 people who were drafted before him. And he has this notebook where he writes his goals for every game, his goals for the season. And in that notebook, he also writes all 16 people drafted before him, like Arya Stark can recite them, not necessarily for vengeance, but just to continue proving I'm the best. And we see him play through an injury where he admits he's at like an 8 or 9 in a scale out of 10 in pain. There is talk of an oblique tearing off the bone.
Is it not vengeance? It seems like he's very obsessed with those 16 other players.
Fair.
He's definitely been coached to be, I would even say, perfect, and that perfection is attainable. I think that's something he probably believes. He also recognizes his own accomplishments, because we hear a little bit about how he may get in trouble for his hip thrusting whenever he gets a touchdown. So he's working hard. He's striving to be better than anyone and everyone else. And he's not afraid to gloat when he does well. So I think he's an interesting comparison to George and Debo, who I feel like are more chill and relaxed while staying focused on their job. Amon-Ra really feels like his life is football, period.
Fair. Yeah, he does seem like the game is more centered, but I also think it sounds like he's been raised that way. I don't know that he has had a life prior to football being at the center of it.
True. And he's younger than George and Debo, so that could play a role as well.
That's true. He's very young. So with that, do you want to watch more of Receiver on Netflix?
Still not a sports guy. I prefer soccer. That's my go-to sport. Maybe baseball. I prefer live sports, actually. And so this is a would watch while hanging out with Me Too at her home, and she happens to have it playing on the TV, which is possible.
Okay, I want that to be my rating too, but like not possible, but probable, in the sense of I really wouldn't mind spending an afternoon watching this. And if you like sports documentaries, this is just another solid sports docuseries for you. I would love to have a Sunday afternoon where you and I chill together and watch this show and have snacks and we just hang and we have this show on playing.
Well, listeners, Me Too's smile is like ear to ear right now. She's so excited.
It's a date.
Well, we have not confirmed anything. So how about we go from sports documentary to a documentary about what's happening in the Deep South?
Also about some athletes. You're talking about Down in the Valley on Starz. P-Valley star Nico Anand takes us on a tour into the Deep South, unveiling a complex South that is equal parts poignant, joyful, and magical. In this first episode, we're witnessing the reopening of Diamonds of Memphis.
So, Mitu, let's just be blunt, to the point. The Diamonds are stars. They are heartwarming, they are talented, they are tough, and they're entertaining.
With love, I forgot Nico was hosting the show, and Nico is quite charming, but I genuinely forgot that he was hosting because I got so sucked into the story of the ladies that whenever we went away from them, I was like, hold on, where are we going? I want to stay with Georgia Peach and Cherry and Miss Couture and Tamika.
Yes, they found some, I would say, really great leads, even though this is just a single episode about them. Each episode in the series will look at different people in the Deep South. But the Diamonds, great. For me, Cherry stood out the most because I had this emotional connection where I wanted her to succeed. She lost her husband, who was also her childhood sweetheart, and she has 3 kids. So she's auditioning in this episode so she can get a stable career.
And he was the breadwinner. So she really needs to establish some streams of income. She already has another job as a cashier, but she knows that she'll make more money and quick money, as Georgia Peach describes it, being able to dance at Diamonds of Memphis. And it seems like a popular spot. It seems like a place where people audition. You want to have a good slot at this place. And so I agree. I really wanted it for Cherry. And there's a part in her audition where something odd happens with the music and something bad happens with her cue. And I was on the edge of my seat. Like, my heart was racing for her.
We're like, you gotta do this, Cherry. We can't have you mess up in this moment.
You didn't come this far to fail on this stage.
And then in contrast, we have someone like Georgia Peach. She's the OG. She's been there since it was a different name with the establishment. And she plays by her own rules. She does what she wants to do in her house.
She's been there since 2013. She is every character that you know, where you start a job and then there's that one person that's been there for like 10, 11 years and they teach you something and they're like, this is not how you're supposed to do it, but this is how I do it. That's who Georgia Peach is in essence. She is the OG at that club. She's so charming, and you know that she's a winner. When we see her getting her makeup done before she goes out to dance, I was like, this is a actual star. This is a star.
Yes. And we do, later on, I don't want to spoil it, learn a bit more about what she's been through. And she had something very traumatic happen to her. And that fear still sits with her. Yes, she keeps going on as strong as she can be.
For herself and her kids. And then we have our entrepreneurs in Couture and Tamika. I love that Couture has a business where she's also a waxer in addition to a dancer, and she does eyebrows and eyebrow tinting and things. So if you're in Memphis, you know, if she's still doing it, please check her out because her eyebrows looked great. And we saw on the dancers that she's great at waxing because she says she waxes a lot of the people who dance on that stage. So I love the idea that she could like point out to the efficacy of her services right there on camera. And then with Miss Tamika, we also got to see why she was so good at her job because she makes a lot of the costumes. She makes naked attire where she was going down a bad path. And then she thought, I need to pivot. Jail is not cute. What can I do next? And she was like, I'm going to make really, really beautiful costumes for these dancers. And another one where the proof is in the pudding. We see them in the costumes and they look fantastic.
And Tamika's outfits are so good, so popular, that people are stealing them from the Diamonds.
That storyline was so funny. If nothing else, please watch the last 10 minutes of this show for that story alone.
I just got to say, that is good marketing. Like, my stuff is so good, people will try and take it.
Like, the proof is in the pudding. Both of them, they got to point out immediately how good their services were. That's amazing.
There's the last question we do need to address. The diamonds were amazing in this pilot episode, but they will not be in the rest of the series.
That's the thing. The show, to me, frankly, doesn't seem particularly well produced. I think that they just found and cast this really wonderful group of women. But I think that there is potential for uneven storytelling because they had stars in this first episode. I know we keep saying Starz and the show's on Starz. But will they always have a Cherry, a Georgia Peach, a Couture, and a Tamika at whatever other places that they highlight? I don't know.
We don't know. And that's the risk you would take. However, we're just basing all of our thoughts and ratings off of the pilot episode, which is very strong. It's very promising. It's very exciting what they're showing. There is the question of, does Nico need to be there? Could he just be a narrator?
Yeah.
But maybe he'll be more useful to work off different personalities in future episodes.
I think so, because the part where Tamika and Couture are trying on outfits that Tamika makes, Nico is so funny and charming there, but just really feels like a third person making us laugh in the room. But I wonder if Nico's charm is needed if the subjects are not as camera ready and have such compelling stories and are such good storytellers as these four women were.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. All of these women are performers, and so they were probably a little more primed to be in front of a camera, and that might not happen in later episodes.
So we might need Nico's charm.
Mm-hmm. So will you watch more episodes of Down in the Valley on Starz?
I will, but with the caveat of I think I'll read the descriptions of where they are, and if I'm interested in that thing, I'll tune in.
Okay. I will watch episodes that Me Too recommends seriously.
Well, one, I love that you're taking my recommendations seriously, and I love that your reviews often involve my labor.
I don't feel comfortable when you put it that way. It's not labor. It's a hobby that you have of watching shows and a hobby that you have of sharing your thoughts and feelings with me. And that sometimes benefits me and saves me time and effort.
Well, Beej, if we were a documentary film crew, where would you take us on a tour in the Deep South?
Personally, I don't want to go to the Deep South, but if I was in the South...
Facts. Let me back up. In the South, period.
I would say my hometown, but sorry, listeners, I'm not about to reveal my hometown. I will reveal that Me Too and I went to Duke University, so I would choose Durham, North Carolina.
It's a great place.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there, really great food, and I think it would be fun.
All right, well, if you want more facts about Durham, North Carolina, or to find more episodes of the Pilot Podcast, you can go to thepilotpodcast.com or find us on all listening platforms.
And you can follow us on social media on X, TikTok, and Instagram at The Pilot Pod. And if you have any thoughts, feelings, show suggestions, because every other week we do a show recommended by you, our listeners, to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.